The rupture began beneath Fortuna, in the catacombs where the Order of the Sword once whispered prayers to a false savior. Reality didn't tear. It shattered, like bone crushed beneath hydraulic pressure. The sound was wrong, not an explosion, not a scream. A grinding mechanical howl that vibrated through stone, through flesh, through the psychic residue of 10,000 years of demon blood soaked into Italian soil. Civilians above felt it first as vertigo, then nosebleeds. Then the suicides began. The breach vomited light, not holy, not demonic, but sterile, clinical. The green radiation of a war that had burned galaxies to cinders and refused to end. Stone aged backward around the wound, then forward, then sideways, through dimensions that had no name in any human tongue. Geometry inverted. Gravity wept. And through the rupture, he fell. The Doomslayer did not arrive. He was expelled. His armor struck the cathedral floor with the weight of a meteor, cratering marble that had stood for centuries. Dust billowed. The impact silenced every bird within 3 miles. His visor's glow, twin embers of inexhaustible rage, cut through the debris like searchlights in hell. He rose without hesitation, without confusion, without mercy. The first demon to investigate was a lesser hell pride, drawn by the scent of dimensional instability. It barely had time to manifest its bladed appendages before the Slayer's gauntlet closed around its skull. He didn't rip, he compressed. The demon's head collapsed inward with a wet crunch, cerebral matter fountaining between his fingers. He dropped the corpse and walked forward. Above, in the city proper, alarms began to wail. Not human alarms. Demon alarms. The ancient pacts that kept Hell's aristocracy comfortable in their human skin mansions suddenly felt inadequate. Something had entered their territory that didn't belong to their ecology. Something that smelled like extinction. In his office 3,000 miles away, Dante's phone rang. He ignored it, feet propped on his desk, half asleep with an old magazine covering his face. The phone rang again. Again. On the 7th ring, Lady kicked his chair out from under him. "Answer it," she said flatly. "Morrison's been calling everyone. Something's wrong in Fortuna." Dante sighed, picking himself off the floor. What else is new? Demons crawl out of that place like roaches. Not like this. Lady's expression was stone. Reports say something came through. Not from hell, from somewhere else. And it's killing everything. Dante's smirk finally cracked. Not from fear, from interest. Everything. Everything. Demons, cultists, civilians who got in the way. Morrison says the body count hit triple digits in 20 minutes. Whatever it is, it's not stopping. Dante grabbed Rebellion from the wall, spinning the blade once, before sliding it into the sheath across his back. His trademark grin returned, but there was an edge to it now. Guess I better introduce myself before the new guy takes all my business. He didn't know yet that business was over, that contracts and cocky banter and stylish victories had no place in the war the Slayer brought with him. That this wasn't an invasion, it was an extermination. And the Doomslayer had just marked every demon in this universe for death. The first television broadcast interrupted soap operas and game shows, with footage that would be scrubbed from the internet within 6 hours. Shaky cell phone video showed the cathedral district burning, not with hellfire, with something colder. Precision demolition. Every demonic nest within Fortuna's underground had been systematically collapsed, the exits sealed with rubble, the inhabitants crushed or immolated. Survivors, human and demon alike, described a figure in green armor moving with algorithmic efficiency. No flourishes, no battle cries, just methodical extermination. One witness, a former order priest who'd been selling protection to minor demons, was found catatonic in an alley. When he finally spoke, he repeated the same phrase. He didn't see me as different. He didn't care that I was human. I was near them. So I was them. The man died of a heart attack 3 hours later. Churches across Italy began receiving visions, not from God, from absence. Prophets woke screaming about a green star that ate demons whole, about a war so old that Earth's entire existence was a footnote in its margins. The Vatican's secret demon-hunting division, the Congregation of the Index, went into emergency session. Their archives held records of every demonic incursion since the Crusades. This matched nothing. "It's not demonic," the Cardinal Executor said, hands shaking as he reviewed psychic impressions gathered from the breach site. "It's anti-demonic, like antibodies attacking a disease. But it doesn't distinguish. Anything touched by hell, even tangentially, is a target." "Then we evacuate," someone suggested. "Evacuate where?" "Our entire organization exists because humanity made deals with demons for 10,000 years. Our power, our wealth, our immortality serums, all of it is tainted. If this thing operates on purity protocols..." The Cardinal didn't finish. He didn't need to. In the demon world, the reaction was worse. Panic spread through the aristocracy like wildfire. Minor demon lords abandoned their territories, fleeing to deeper hells. The more powerful entities, the ones who'd carved kingdoms from human suffering, fortified their positions and prepared for war. But their scouts reported something that made no sense. The intruder wasn't advancing. He was cleaning. Every demon he killed, he destroyed completely. No souls escaped. No essence reformed. The metaphysical architecture of their immortality meant nothing to whatever weapons he carried. They died. Actually died. In a universe where death was negotiable, where demons reformed in hell, and humans sold their souls for second chances. This was obscene. It was final. Mundus, imprisoned, but still conscious in his stone tomb, felt the disturbance and laughed. Not from joy, from recognition. He knew this rage. He'd seen it before, in other dimensions, in wars that burned across the multiverse. This wasn't an invader. It was a reaper, and demons weren't the only ones on the menu. When Morrison finally reached Dante with updated intelligence, his voice was tight. "Change of plans. Don't engage. I repeat, do not engage. The Guild is issuing a standing bounty for anyone who can negotiate, contain, or redirect this thing away from population centers." Dante hung up. Lady stared at him. "You're still going?" "Yeah, you heard him." "This isn't a demon. This is something worse." Dante's smile was all teeth. "Then it's definitely my kind of party." He left through the window, not the door. Style, even now, especially now. Behind him, in the office, the radio crackled with emergency broadcasts. The word was spreading. Not invasion. Not infection. Corruption. Dante hit Fortuna at sunset. The sky bruised purple and red like a healing wound. The city was evacuated, streets empty except for the dead. He counted 37 bodies in the first block alone. Cultists mostly, their robes shredded, their enchanted daggers bent and broken. Whatever killed them had done so with force, not finesse. He found the Slayer in the ruins of the cathedral, standing over a pile of corpses. 12 Hell Prides, 2 Blitzes, and something that might have been a fault once. All dead. Properly dead. No souls escaping, no Reformation magic activating. Just meat and rapidly cooling ichor. The Slayer turned, his visor locked onto Dante with the cold assessment of a targeting system cycling through threat protocols. Dante raised rebellion in a casual salute. "Nice work. Little overkill. But I respect the enthusiasm." "Name's Dante." I usually handle demon problems around here, but it looks like you've got it covered." The Slayer said nothing. His shoulder-mounted cannon swiveled toward Dante's chest. "Whoa, hey!" Dante's grin stayed fixed, but his grip on Rebellion tightened. "I'm on your side, big guy. Half demon, full-time hero. I kill these bastards for a living." The Slayer's visor flared. His armor's sensors had already analyzed Dante's blood, his demonic heritage, the Sparta DNA woven through every cell. The results were conclusive. Demon. Dante saw the shot coming and moved. Not fast enough. The plasma bolt punched through his shoulder, spinning him backward into a stone pillar. The impact shattered marble. Dante's regeneration kicked in immediately, flesh knitting closed, but his expression had shifted. The smile was gone. "Okay," he said quietly, standing. "Not on the same side. Got it." The Slayer charged. No technique, no martial artistry. Just overwhelming kinetic force, every movement optimized for maximum lethality. He closed the distance in 3 strides, his gauntlet swinging for Dante's skull. Dante caught the punch on Rebellion's blade. The impact cratered the floor beneath them, shock waves shattering every remaining window. Dante's arms trembled. The strength behind that blow. It wasn't demonic power or magical enhancement. It was mechanical, backed by armor that had survived wars against god machines. "Jesus," Dante grunted, pushing back. "You hit like a train." He kicked off the Slayer's chest, backflipping to create distance. Mid-air, he drew ebony and ivory, unloading both clips in a precise spread pattern. Every shot struck armor, sparking but not penetrating. The Slayer walked through the gunfire like rain. Dante landed, holstering the pistols. "Tough armor. Let's see how it handles this." He triggered his devil trigger. The transformation was instant and glorious, demonic power erupting from his body, wings spreading, his form becoming something between human and legend. The cathedral filled with red light and crushing spiritual pressure. The Slayer didn't hesitate, didn't recoil, didn't even slow down. He activated the crucible. The blade ignited with argent energy, a sword that had carved through demon titans, through dimension-warping horrors, through the very concept of hell itself. When it clashed with Rebellion, reality bent. The sound was catastrophic. Stone became sand. The air turned briefly solid. Dante's devil trigger faltered. Not from damage. From recognition. That energy, it wasn't anti-demon. It was anti-existence. A weapon designed to end things so thoroughly that even metaphysical concepts died. They broke apart, circling. Blood, Dante's, dripped from a shallow cut across his ribs. First blood drawn. First time in years Dante had been cut by anything that didn't regenerate his opponent immediately. "Who the hell are you?" Dante demanded. The Slayer's visor burned brighter. He raised the crucible, and the real fight began. The Slayer moved like a siege engine given predatory instinct. No wasted motion. Every strike calculated to sever, crush, or obliterate. Dante had fought gods and demon kings, had matched blades with his brother across dimensions. But this was different. This wasn't combat. This was pest control. Dante launched himself forward, devil trigger roaring, Rebellion trailing crimson energy. He feinted high, struck low, the blade screaming toward the Slayer's knee joint, weak points that had served him against countless armored opponents. The Slayer tanked the hit. Rebellion sparked off armor that had withstood the core of dying stars. Before Dante could recover, a gauntleted fist hammered into his ribs with hydraulic force. Bone cracked. Dante flew backward through 3 stone walls, his trajectory ending in the baptismal chamber. Water exploded outward, holy and worthless. He coughed blood, ribs already knitting. Okay. New strategy. The Slayer walked through the holes Dante's body had made, crucible blazing. He didn't run, didn't need to. Inevitability incarnate. Dante triggered Quicksilver, slowing time to a crawl. The world became amber-tinted, every motion reduced to glacial drift. He'd use this against Virgil, against Mundus, against enemies who could shatter continents. Against the Slayer, it bought him 3 seconds. 3 seconds to circle behind. 3 seconds to drive rebellion toward the armor's seams. 3 seconds to realize the Slayer's combat algorithms had already compensated, his body twisting mid-strike to interpose the crucible. Time snapped back. The energy blades met. The baptismal chamber ceased to exist. The explosion hurled both fighters into the ruined nave. Dante crashed through the organ, pipes screaming discordant death notes. The Slayer simply stopped moving when he hit the far wall, armor absorbing kinetic energy that should have pulverized a human body. Dante struggled to his feet, devil trigger flickering. He was burning energy too fast, regenerating damage faster than his demonic heritage could sustain. You're not even trying to fight me. You're just executing a program. The Slayer's response was the BFG. The weapon materialized from his arsenal, a cannon too large for anything human to carry. It charged with a sound like reality sobbing. Green energy coalesced into a sphere of weaponized hatred, the culmination of sciences that had turned demon invasion into demon extinction. Dante's eyes widened. Oh, shut! The blast vaporized half the cathedral. Stone, demonic corpses, ancient artifacts, all reduced to component atoms. Dante triggered Doppelganger at the last microsecond, the spectral duplicate taking the hit while he phased through dimensions. Even displaced, the energy clipped him. His left arm disintegrated to the shoulder, regeneration struggling against radiation that corrupted healing itself. He materialized 50 yards away, gasping, arm slowly rebuilding from charred bone. What the fuck was that? The Slayer holstered the BFG, checked his ammunition counter, calculated resources remaining, adjusted tactical approach. He determined Dante's regeneration threshold, offensive capabilities, dimensional shifting range. The data was sufficient. He activated the Sentinel Hammer. The weapon emerged in his grip, crackling with energy that had leveled fortresses, that had been wielded by god warriors in wars before Earth's sun ignited. He raised it high and brought it down. The ground split. Not just the cathedral. The ground. A seismic wave radiated outward, collapsing buildings for 6 blocks. Dante was thrown skyward, tumbling through smoke and debris. Below, the earth opened into chasms that revealed Fortuna's ancient catacombs, and the demon hives festering there. The Slayer dropped into the chasms. Dante heard the screams. Hell prides, frosts, a minor demon lord that had ruled these tunnels for 3 centuries. All dying, quickly, efficiently, without ceremony. The massacre lasted 90 seconds. When the Slayer emerged, his armor was painted with ichor that evaporated in the air. Unable to corrupt something designed to wade through hell's core. He looked up at Dante, still airborne, devil trigger fading. Their eyes met. In that moment, Dante understood. This wasn't a warrior. This was an antibody, an immune response to demonic presence, refined across eons, weaponized beyond comprehension. And Dante's demon blood marked him for the same extinction. The Slayer raised the BFG again. Dante fled, not from cowardice, from recognition that this fight couldn't be won. Not here, not like this. He needed information. Backup. A plan beyond hit it until it dies. Behind him, the Slayer stood in the ruins, visor tracking Dante's escape vector. He didn't pursue. The target would return. They always did. Instead, he turned toward Rome. His sensors had detected 17 major demon concentrations in the city. Population, irrelevant. Collateral damage, acceptable. Mission parameters, unchanged. Hell would burn, and anyone standing too close would burn with it. The Vatican's war room, officially non-existent, buried 4 levels beneath St. Peter's Basilica, erupted into controlled chaos. Holographic displays showed Fortuna burning, seismic data indicating impossible energy signatures, and satellite footage of a single figure walking toward Rome with the patient inevitability of a glacier. Cardinal Executor Faust slammed his fist on the table. How long until it reaches the city? 18 hours at current pace, a technician reported. But Your Eminence, the speed is irrelevant. The direction is what matters. It's not following roads or terrain. It's moving in a perfect straight line toward the highest concentration of demonic activity in Europe. Our headquarters, someone whispered. The room fell silent. The Vatican's power had always rested on a delicate balance. Holy authority above, demonic pacts below. They hunted rogue demons while employing others, maintained exorcism divisions while trafficking in infernal artifacts. Every cardinal in this room had demon blood on their hands, literal or metaphorical, and something was coming to collect the debt. Deploy the purifiers, Faust ordered. Full loadout, holy munitions, blessed weaponry, sanctified armor. If it responds to demonic presence, perhaps it will recognize allies. Your Eminence, a younger priest interjected. The reports from Fortuna. It killed civilians. Anyone who'd made deals, taken enhancements, even those who'd simply been near demons too long. It doesn't seem to distinguish between. Then we don't give it a choice. Evacuate the corrupted. Deploy the pure. And contact Morrison. We need the mercenaries. In Japan, Nero's phone buzzed during dinner. He ignored it. Kyrie had cooked. Nico was arguing about carburetor designs, and for once the world could handle its own problems. The phone buzzed again. And again. Answer it, Kyrie said gently. You know you won't relax until you do. Nero sighed, stepping outside. This better be good. Morrison's voice was tight. It's not. Dante engaged the entity in Fortuna. He lost. Nero's grip on the phone tightened. Dante doesn't lose. He retreated. First time in his career. Thing is, whatever this entity is, it's heading toward major population centers. The Vatican is mobilizing. The Guild is offering unprecedented bounties, and several demon lords have put aside centuries-old feuds to coordinate a defense. Demons and the church working together? Nero laughed bitterly. Must be the apocalypse. Close enough. The entity has already killed 3 minor demon lords and approximately 200 lesser demons. Collateral damage includes 73 human deaths. All of them had prior demonic contact, deals, possessions, even recovered victims. It's not discriminating based on innocence, just contamination. Nero looked back through the window at Kyrie, at the life he'd built away from all this. What's Dante doing? Regrouping. He wants you in Rome. Says this thing fights like nothing he's ever seen. No style, no ego, just pure efficiency. Sounds like Virgil on a bad day. Worse, Virgil wants to prove himself. This thing wants demons extinct, and it's got the firepower to make that happen. Nero closed his eyes, thought of the orphanage, of the kids who'd survived demon attacks, who still had nightmares. Thought of Kyrie's gentle insistence that running from responsibility wasn't the same as choosing peace. I'll be there in 12 hours. He hung up, turned back inside. Kyrie was standing in the doorway. You have to go, she said. Not a question. Yeah, she hugged him tight. Come back. Always do. He didn't tell her about Dante retreating, didn't mention the body count, or the fact that demons and humans were forming alliances against a common threat. Some truths were better delivered after survival, not before departure. In the demon world, Mundus's prison shook with laughter that echoed through dimensions. Lesser demons prostrated themselves before his stone form, begging for guidance. "Fools," his voice rumbled. "You cannot fight extinction. You can only delay it. This is the Slayer, the Doomwalker, the Unmaker. He has ended hells across the multiverse. Your only hope is that he completes his purge and leaves before your entire species is extinguished." "What do we do?" a demon duke pleaded. "Pray," Mundus said, still laughing. "Pray that his ammunition runs out before your bloodline does." The laughter echoed long after the demons fled. In Rome, the purifiers assembled, 12 of the Vatican's finest, blessed by dead saints, armed with weapons forged in martyrs' blood. They took position on the city outskirts, barriers erected, holy wards activated. They had 6 hours before contact. None of them expected to survive. The strategy session took place in Morrison's office, neutral ground where demons and demon hunters could meet without treaties, dissolving into bloodshed. The attendance list would have been impossible 6 days ago. Dante, Nero, Lady, Trish, 3 guild representatives, 2 demon dukes operating under truce flags, and a Vatican observer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Dante sprawled in a chair, feet on the table, but the casual posture didn't hide the bandages or the way his regeneration was still working over time. "So we're really doing this, working with demons." "We're all targets," Duke Malachi said, his human form immaculate, but unable to hide the sulfur stench. "The entity doesn't care about your moral high ground. You've killed demons. You carry demon blood. To it. You're contaminated." "And whose fault is that?" Lady snapped, hand on her rocket launcher. "You invaded our world. You corrupt everything you touch. Maybe this thing has the right idea." The room tensed. Nero stepped between them. "We can fight each other after we're not all marked for extinction. Priorities." Morrison projected holographic footage from Fortuna. The Slayer's approach, the cathedral destruction, the BFG discharge. Analysis suggests military hardware far beyond current technology. Energy signatures indicate power sources we can't identify, and the armor appears self-repairing. "How do you kill something that won't stay dead?" Trish asked. "You don't," Dante said quietly. "I hit him with everything. Devil Trigger, Rebellion, Quicksilver. Barely scratched him. And his weapons." He touched his shoulder where the plasma bolt had punched through. "I've been shot by demon kings. Never felt anything like that." "Then we don't fight him," Nero said. "We redirect him." The room turned. "Explain," Morrison prompted. Nero stood, gesturing at the map of Rome. "He's not hunting randomly. He's targeting demon concentrations. So we give him what he wants. Clear out the demon strongholds ourselves, evacuate the corrupted, and guide him toward the one target that makes sense." "Which is?" the Vatican observer asked nervously. "The Hellgate beneath Vatican City." Silence. Duke Malachi laughed darkly. "You want to sacrifice the gate? The Church's most valuable asset. Their direct line to infernal power? I want to survive," Nero shot back. "And if that thing finds the gate on its own, it'll burn Rome to ash getting to it. But if we open it, let every demon pour through, and then point him at it, he gets what he wants, a target-rich environment. We get him distracted long enough to either negotiate or escape." "That's insane," the observer said. "The gate hasn't been fully opened in 800 years. You're talking about unleashing." "Something he's already equipped to handle," Dante interrupted. "Kid's right. This thing is built for demon genocide on an industrial scale. Let it do what it does best, away from civilians." "And when he's finished with the demons?" Trish asked. "When he turns around and realizes we're still here, still tainted?" No one answered. The second demon duke, Cassiel, spoke for the first time. Her voice was ancient, tired. "You're trying to reason with a natural disaster." "He doesn't hate demons. He exterminates them. There's no ideology to debate, No moral framework to challenge. You might as well argue with a plague. Plagues can be cured, Lady said. Can they? KCL gestured at the footage. Look at him. Really look. That's not armor. That's a tomb. Something died in there, and what walks now is just process. Action without thought. Violence without passion. You're not fighting a person. You're fighting an idea someone had about what justice looks like when mercy dies. Dante leaned forward. Then we find whoever had that idea and ask them politely to call off their murder machine. There is no one, Malachi said. According to the fragments our seers have gathered, he's been fighting for eons. The civilization that created him, the gods that blessed him, the dimensions he defended. All dead. All extinct. He's the last survivor of a war that burned reality itself. And when his universe died, he didn't stop fighting. He just continued. Through dimensions, through time, through every hell that dared to exist. The weight of that settled over the room like a burial shroud. So what? Nero said slowly. You're saying he can't be stopped because he's already won? That he's just cleaning up the remains? I'm saying, Cassiel replied, that we're the remains. Morrison's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. The purifiers engaged him 20 minutes ago on Rome's outskirts, all 12 dead. He walked through their wards like they were tissue paper. The Swiss Guard is evacuating the Vatican. The Pope is being relocated to an undisclosed location. How long until he reaches the city center? Dante asked. 4 hours, maybe less. Nero looked at the map, at the Hell Gate's location, at the estimated path of destruction. Then we have 4 hours to decide. Do we try to stop him? Or do we aim him at the biggest target and pray he doesn't notice us in the crossfire? Lady checked her ammunition. I vote for option 3. We empty every weapon we have into that armor until something gives. That's suicide, the observer protested. Yeah, Lady agreed, but at least we die fighting instead of running. The debate continued, voices rising, ideologies clashing. Plans formed and dissolved. Desperate strategies were proposed and rejected. Outside, the Slayer walked toward Rome, his path marked by burning demon safehouses and emptied criminal enterprises. He didn't pause to register the debates happening in his wake. Didn't care about the philosophical implications of his existence. He was the answer to a question civilizations asked when demons first crawled from the dark. How do we make them stop? And the answer was simple. This. The decision was made not through consensus, but through desperation. Duke Malachi, with the blessing of 3 demon courts, offered the unthinkable. They would open the Hell Gate themselves, flooding Rome with every demon within summoning range, not as an invasion, as bait. You'll doom thousands, the Vatican observer said, ashen. We'll doom thousands here, Malachi corrected, or he'll doom millions as he carves through every city with demon presence. Europe first, then Asia. Eventually he'll exterminate our species across all connected dimensions. This is triage. Dante stood abruptly. No, we're not opening that gate. It's already decided, Morrison said quietly. The guild voted. The church agreed. Even the demon lords have made peace with it. The gate opens in 2 hours. We evacuate who we can, arm who we must, and let the Slayer do what he came to do. And the humans caught in the crossfire, Nero demanded. We're establishing quarantine zones. Anyone with demonic taint, deals, possessions, hybrid blood, gets evacuated to the gate's kill zone. Everyone else gets moved to safe distance. Lady's voice was ice. You're sorting people, deciding who's pure enough to save and who's contaminated enough to sacrifice. Yes, Morrison said without flinching, because if we don't, the Slayer will make that decision for us. And his criteria is simpler. If you've touched hell, even once, you burn. Trish, silent until now, spoke with the weight of her demonic heritage. What about us? Dante's half demon, Nero's quarter. I'm a full demon in human skin. Are we being evacuated to the tainted zone? The silence answered. Fuck that, Nero said. Devil bringer crackling with energy. I'm not standing in a slaughter pen waiting for execution. Then you run, Morrison said. All of you. Get as far from Rome as possible. This is our mistake to fix. Humanity's pacts with hell, our compromises and deals. You three are just collateral damage we'd rather avoid. Dante's laugh was hollow. After everything, every demon I've killed, every apocalypse I've stopped, every time I chose humanity over my demon blood, it still doesn't matter. We're still them to you. No, Morrison said, and for the first time his composure cracked. You're better. That's what makes this so goddamn hard. But the Slayer doesn't see better. He sees demonic DNA and pulls the trigger. I can't negotiate with that. Can't reason with it. So I'm making the choice that saves the most lives, even if it costs me the few people I actually respect. The room fell silent save for the city's sirens beginning their wail outside. Lady broke first. I'll help with evacuation. Get the kids out. The families. Someone should. She left without looking back. Nero stared at the map, at the Hellgate marker, at the estimated path of destruction converging on that point. What if we closed the gate? After the demons pour through, what if we sealed it permanently? Starve hell itself? Cut off Earth entirely? The ritual would take weeks, the observer said. We'd need components, sacrifices. What if we had someone on the inside? Nero interrupted. Someone who could reach the gate's anchor point in hell and sever it from there. Everyone turned to Trish. She smiled without humor. You want me to commit suicide stopping something I philosophically agree with. Bold strategy. I'm asking you to save millions, Nero said, including us. Why should I? Dante's right. After everything, we're still the enemy to them. Maybe the Slayer has the right idea. Maybe demons should go extinct. Do you believe that? Dante asked quietly. Trish was silent for a long moment. No. But I believe I'm tired of being the thing people tolerate instead of accept. The useful monster. The tame demon. I'm tired of proving I'm not that kind of demon. Knowing that one slip, one bad day, and I'm back in the extermination category. Then don't do it for them, Nero said. Do it because kids in that orphanage shouldn't have to choose between being fully human or fully condemned. Do it because maybe, just maybe, we can build a world where my daughter won't have to hide what she is. The weight of those words hung in the air. Trish closed her eyes. The Hellgate anchor is guarded by Mundus's remaining generals. I'll need backup. I'll go, Dante said immediately. No. Morrison stood. You're staying here. The Slayer responds to threat assessment. If he sees you, Nero, or Trish, he'll prioritize termination. But if you're not here when he arrives, if the only targets are the demons pouring through the gate, we might have a chance. A chance at what? Dante demanded. Survival? Victory? Or just dying slightly later? Morrison met his gaze. At choosing how our world ends, with us fighting for it, or running from it. The vote was silent, written in the tension of clenched fists and averted eyes. The plan would proceed. The gate would open. Hell would flood forth, and the Slayer would meet his ideal battlefield, an entire species concentrated in one place, ripe for extinction. Dante was the last to leave the office. At the door, he turned back to Morrison. If this goes wrong, if the Slayer burns Rome and keeps going, I know, Morrison said quietly. I'll be in the city. Someone should witness what we've done. Outside, the first evacuation sirens merged with demonic howls as the summoning rituals began. The Hellgate's seals, maintained for centuries, began to crack. The Vatican trembled, and the Slayer, 4 miles away, adjusted his trajectory. His sensors had detected the energy spike, the mass demon manifestation, exactly what his protocols demanded. Target acquired, ammunition checked, glory kills enabled. He accelerated to a run, and the Hellgate opened like a wound in reality, and Rome bled. Demons poured forth in numbers not seen since the Crusades. Hell, prides by the dozen. Frost nights and glacial waves. Blitzes crackling with malevolent electricity. Behind them came the greater horrors. Fallen angels with wings like knives. Nobodies that erased space with their presence. And 3 minor demon lords who'd been promised vengeance against the entity that dared hunt their kind. The evacuation was chaos incarnate. Buses loaded with screaming families, helicopters lifting off from rooftops, and in the quarantine zones, where the tainted had been gathered, a grim silence as people realized they'd been sorted into the expendable category. Nero stood at the zone's perimeter, Devilbringer burning with frustrated rage. Inside the fence, he saw reformed addicts who'd made deals for one more high, accident victims who'd accepted demon healing to walk again, children born to demon-human relationships who'd never had a choice. "We can't leave them," he said. Lady, coordinating evacuation beside him, didn't look up. "We don't have a choice. The moment the Slayer detects demonic traces, he'll prioritize those targets. If we mix them with the pure evacuation, everyone dies. So we just let them wait for execution? We give them weapons. We give them a chance. It's more than the Slayer would offer." Inside the zone, Morrison was distributing blessed firearms, holy water grenades, anything that might slow demonic or anti-demonic assault. He moved through the crowd with quiet efficiency, meeting eyes, squeezing shoulders, offering the only comfort he could: the truth. "You know what's coming," he said to a group of former cultists, both from hell and from the entity hunting it. "I won't lie and say you have a good chance. But you have a chance. Fight the demons. Maybe the Slayer will see you as allies. Maybe not. But die standing." One woman, demonic sigils tattooed across her arms from a deal made 20 years ago, laughed bitterly. "We're the sacrifice that lets the pure people escape. That's all we ever were." Morrison had no response. She was right. In hell, Trish and Dante fought their way toward the gate's anchor point. The journey was brutal, not because of enemy strength, but because of numbers. Every demon that could be spared from the Rome assault was thrown at them. Mundus's generals coordinated the defense with desperate precision. "They know what we're doing," Trish gasped, holy water burning through her stolen demonic sword. "If we close the gate now, everyone on Earthside is trapped." "Then we time it perfectly," Dante said, rebellion carving through a Hell-Pride skull. "The moment the Slayer engages, the moment Hell's full attention is on him, we cut the anchor. And if the timing's off? If we cut it too soon?" Dante's silence was answer enough. Above, on Earth, the Slayer entered Rome. He didn't stride dramatically into view. He simply appeared at the city's edge, sensors having mapped optimal approach vectors. The first demon to notice him, a frost knight, lasted 3 seconds. The Slayer's shotgun blast vaporized its head. His gauntlet crushed its torso, and before the body hit the ground, he'd moved to the next target. The massacre began without ceremony. Demons died by the dozen. The Slayer waded through their ranks like a harvester through grain, each movement optimized for maximum lethality. His shoulder cannon targeted aerial enemies. His crucible carved through the heavy armor. When ammunition ran low, he simply switched weapons, an arsenal that seemed endless, and all of it designed for one purpose: demon extinction. The minor lords attacked in concert, combining their power in a desperate assault. Reality warped, gravity failed, space folded. The Slayer tanked it all, his armor systems compensating, adapting, learning. When they exhausted their power, he walked forward and executed them one by one. No speeches, no dramatic confrontations, just methodical extermination. In the quarantine zone, the demons broke through, not because they'd won, but because the Slayer's rampage had scattered their ranks, pushing stragglers toward the one concentration of demonic taint they could detect, the marked humans. Morrison raised his blessed shotgun. Around him, the condemned prepared for their last stand. Former cultists, reformed addicts, hybrid children, all marked for death by the same demonic taint that made them targets. "Hold the line," Morrison shouted. "We're not dying as victims." They fought. God, they fought. With borrowed weapons and desperate prayer and the fury of people who'd been told they weren't worth saving. Demons fell. But more came. And behind them, drawn by the concentrated demonic energy, the Slayer approached. He saw the quarantine zone, scanned it, detected massive demonic traces. His combat protocols identified it as a high-value target. Enemy concentration, defensive position, active resistance. He loaded the BFG. Lady saw it first. Saw the green glow charging, understood what it meant. "Everyone down!" The blast vaporized the zone's northern fence. 17 people simply ceased to exist, their molecules scattered across Rome. But the shot also hit its true target, a cluster of demons using the humans as shields. The explosive energy chained between demonic entities, ripping them apart while leaving the humans in the blast, wake merely unconscious from concussive force. The Slayer's targeting system recalibrated. The humans were engaging the demons. Threat assessment. Revised. They were not demon allies. They were demon prey fighting back. He altered his approach vector, moving past the zone toward the Hellgate proper. Morrison, ears bleeding from the blast, watched him pass. The condemned, those marked for execution, had been spared. Not through mercy, through mathematics. They'd proven themselves tactically aligned with the Slayer's objective. In hell, Dante reached the anchor point, a massive obsidian chain binding dimensions together. "Now?" he asked Trish. She closed her eyes, feeling the energy flow. The gate was fully open, hell pouring forth, the Slayer engaged. Now. They struck together. Rebellion and lightning. Demonic power turned against itself. The anchor cracked. Reality howled. On Earth, the Hellgate began to collapse. Demons still on the hell side were cut off, trapped. Those on Earth suddenly found themselves without reinforcements, without retreat. And the Slayer noticed. His visor swept across the battlefield. The gate was closing. The demon concentration was finite, manageable, perfect. He activated every weapon simultaneously and began the final extermination. The Slayer stood at the Hellgate's threshold as reality sealed itself shut. Around him lay the corpses of 473 demons, each death methodical, complete, final. But he wasn't satisfied. His sensors detected one last concentration of demonic energy, deeper than the others, more ancient, more powerful, Mundus. The demon emperor's prison trembled as the Slayer approached. The seals placed by Sparta 2,000 years ago. Seals that had held against escape attempts by demon lords and holy crusades alike, meant nothing to someone who'd torn through dimensional barriers with his bare hands. The Slayer raised the crucible, brought it down. The prison shattered. Mundus emerged slowly, his stone form cracking, his true body revealed beneath. Vast, terrible, a being that had ruled hell before humans learned to make fire. He looked at the Slayer with eyes that held the memory of 1 billion souls consumed. "So," Mundus said, voice like tectonic plates grinding. "The Unmaker comes for me at last. I watched you through the dimensions, you know. Saw you burn the Spider Mastermind's realm. Saw you execute the icon of sin. Saw you turn Mars into a graveyard. Did you think hell wouldn't notice? Wouldn't prepare?" The Slayer said nothing. "Raised the BFG." Mundus laughed. "You're in my city now. My domain. Built on 10,000 years of human sin, demon corruption, holy compromise. Every stone here has tasted blood. Every shadow has sheltered deals. You can't purge this place without purging Rome itself." The Slayer's finger tightened on the trigger. "Wait," Dante's voice cut through. He emerged from the gate's ruins, battered, bleeding, devil trigger barely holding. Behind him, Nero, Trish, Lady. Everyone who'd survived the Hellside Anchor mission. "You want to kill Mundus? Fine, he's a monster. But do it because he's guilty, not because he's demon." The Slayer's visor swept across them. Threat assessment, elevated. Demonic traces, positive. Threat elimination, required. He adjusted his aim toward Dante. "Yeah," Dante said, spreading his arms. "I'm half demon. Nero's quarter. Trish is full demon and stolen flesh. And every one of us has killed more demons than you've got ammunition for. We've stopped apocalypses, saved cities, chose humanity over our heritage again and again. Does that matter to you? Or are we just targets with different colored blood?" The Slayer's crucible ignited. His answer was clear. "Then let's get this over with," Dante said quietly. He triggered Devil Trigger. The transformation flooding him with power that would mark him irrevocably demonic to any sensor. Beside him, Nero's Devil Trigger activated. Spectral arms erupting, angelic and demonic power merged into something between worlds. Trish let her human disguise fall away, revealing the lightning demon beneath. They were glorious, terrible, undeniably inhuman. The Slayer had executed billions like them across universes. He charged. The battle was cataclysmic. Dante matched the crucible with rebellion, each clash sending shock waves that leveled buildings. Nero grabbed the Slayer with spectral arms, throwing him through ancient walls, only for the armor to absorb the impact and return with doubled force. Trish rained lightning that should have fried circuitry, but the Slayer's systems adapted in real time, grounding the energy, redirecting it back. Behind them, Mundus watched, waited, gathered his power. "You're all fools," the Demon Emperor said. "Fighting each other while I prepare. The Slayer can't win, he's outnumbered. The hybrids can't win, he's too durable. So you exhaust yourselves, and I simply inherit the ashes." Lady's rocket launcher answered. The blast caught Mundus mid-speech, cratering his torso. "Shut up!" Mundus roared, reality warping around him. He reached toward the city, drawing power from every dark deal, every forgotten sin, every compromise humanity had made with hell. Rome trembled. The very stones screamed. The Slayer's combat algorithms recalculated. 2 threats, the hybrids and the true demon lord. Ammunition, finite. Energy, depleting. Optimal strategy, alliance of opportunity. He stopped attacking Dante, turned to face Mundus. Dante, breathing hard, lowered rebellion slowly. "Are you?" The Slayer fired the BFG at Mundus. The green star impacted the Demon Emperor's chest, energy chains spreading across his form, burrowing deep. Mundus screamed, the sound shattering windows across Rome as the weapon designed to end demon gods did its work. But Mundus was old. Older than Mars, older than the Slayer's crusade. He grabbed the energy chains, pulled, using them as conduits to strike back. Lightning, hellfire, and pure malice flowed toward the Slayer. Dante intercepted it. Devil trigger at maximum, he caught the energy meant to obliterate, his hybrid nature allowing him to channel both demonic and holy. It burned. God, it burned. But he held. Nero! Now! Nero's Devilbringer grabbed the Slayer's shoulder. For one moment, their eyes met. Human, and something beyond human. Legacy of demon blood and monument to demon extinction. This is our world, Nero said. Our mess, our apocalypse. You want to save it? Help us end him. Then you can decide if we're worth the ammunition. The Slayer's visor flared. Combat analysis. Alliance increases probability of mission success by 47%. Ethical consideration, irrelevant. He nodded once. Then he walked forward, through Dante's channeled energy, through Mundus's desperate assault, and drove the crucible into the demon emperor's heart. Mundus shrieked. Not in pain. Demon lords had long since transcended such mortal concerns, but in recognition. This was the blade that had ended the icon of sin, that had carved through the spider mastermind's dimension. That had turned demon gods into rapidly cooling meat. I am eternal, Mundus whispered. No, Dante said, pulling rebellion free. You're just first. They struck together. The crucible and rebellion, argent energy, and Sparta's legacy. The weapon designed to end demons, and the weapon forged by one. The combined strike didn't just kill Mundus, it erased him. Body, soul, metaphysical presence, all deleted from reality with the finality of a closing file. The demon emperor, who had ruled hell before Rome was dust, who had survived Sparta's rebellion and 2 millennia of attempts on his existence, simply stopped being. The silence that followed was profound. The Slayer stood in the aftermath, sensors sweeping the ruins. Demonic presence, minimal. Mundus, terminated. Mission parameters, 94% complete. Remaining targets, the hybrids. He turned toward Dante. The standoff lasted 17 seconds, an eternity in combat time, an instant in the scope of what they'd just survived. The Slayer's weapons were primed. Dante's devil trigger was fading, energy depleted, but rebellion was still in his hand. Behind them, Rome burned with the aftermath of holy war and demonic genocide. Then Morrison's voice crackled through every emergency speaker, still functioning in the city. Attention, unknown entity. This is Morrison, guild representative. The demonic presence you were hunting is eliminated. Mundus is dead. The Hellgate is sealed. Your mission parameters are complete. We appreciate the assistance. Request you stand down and allow us to begin recovery operations. The Slayer's visor swept across the ruins. His sensors confirmed. Demon concentration reduced by 97%. Major targets eliminated. Hellgate closed. The contamination was managed, contained. Not eliminated. Managed. He looked at Dante, at Nero, at Trish, at the survivors emerging from rubble, many carrying demonic taint from proximity, from deals, from the simple fact of having lived too long in a world where hell and earth bled into each other. His armor systems ran probability calculations. To achieve 100% eradication would require killing every hybrid, every tainted human, every artifact, every piece of demon-touched architecture. Estimated casualties, 400,000 to 700,000 in Rome alone. Global estimate, 40 to 60 million. Ammunition remaining, sufficient. Energy reserves, adequate. Probability of success, 89%. The Slayer's finger rested on the trigger. Wait, Nero said, stepping forward. His devil trigger was gone, leaving just a young man with a demonic arm and too many scars. You came here because hell invaded, because demons destroyed, because they took and never stopped taking. Yeah? The Slayer's visor focused on him. We stopped them. We've been stopping them. Every day. Every fight. Dante's killed demon lords since before I was born. I've spent my entire life making sure the kids in my city don't wake up to monsters under the bed. We're not like them. We choose differently. The Slayer's response was a diagnostic readout. Demonic DNA detected. Threat assessment. Positive. Elimination protocol. Active. Yeah, I've got demon blood, Nero continued. Can't change that. But I chose to protect humans instead of prey on them. Chose to build instead of destroy. Chose to be the thing that stands between innocence and the monsters. Isn't that what matters? What we choose, not what we are. The Slayer's systems couldn't process choice, only threat parameters, only contamination levels, only mission completion percentages. Dante stepped beside Nero. You fought for so long that you forgot there's a difference between infection and immunity. Yeah, we're part demon. That's exactly what makes us useful. We know how they think, how they fight, what they fear. We're not the disease. We're the antibodies that actually work. The Slayer's weapon lowered, fractionally, not from mercy, from calculation. He'd fought across dimensions, seen universes where demons won, where they lost, where the conflict reduced entire civilizations to ash. And in all those wars, in all those dimensions, the one constant was, pure extinction solved nothing. The demons always returned. Always found new vectors, new dimensions, new ways to corrupt. But a world that fought back? That produced hunters who could walk between worlds, who understood both sides? That was new data. The Slayer's armor systems ran new calculations, projected outcomes, probability trees branching into futures he couldn't predict because they operated on variables he'd never encountered. What if the most effective demon-killing strategy wasn't extermination, but inoculation? His weapons powered down. The collective breath the city released could have filled a hurricane. So, Dante said carefully, does this mean we're allies? Or are you going to restart the murder spree tomorrow? The Slayer turned without answering, walked toward the horizon. His armor's systems were already scanning for dimensional rifts, for portals home, for the next hell that needed breaking. Hey, Nero called after him. If you're ever back this way and demons show up, call us. We'll help. The Slayer paused, looked back once. His visor's glow seemed almost thoughtful. Then he was gone, disappearing between moments, between realities, back to the infinite war that had consumed his existence. In the weeks that followed, Rome rebuilt. The official story was a massive gas explosion combined with terrorist attack. The civilian casualties numbered 847, tragic, but far less than the thousands who should have died when the Hellgate opened. The survivors, those marked and tainted and condemned, became something unexpected. Heroes. The ones who'd fought demons while waiting for death. The ones who'd chosen courage when marked expendable. Morrison's office became the new headquarters for what they started calling the Grey Guard. Hunters who walked the line between human and demon, who understood both worlds enough to protect one from the other. Dante took a vacation. First one in 20 years. It lasted 3 days before a demon cult summoned something stupid, and he had to cut it short. Nero returned to his orphanage, to Kyrie, to a life spent teaching demon-blooded kids that their heritage didn't define their choices. The Vatican quietly shut down the Hellgate, not just sealing it, but demolishing the physical space, scattering the components across the world. The age of managed demon relationships was over. The age of us versus them, with negotiated truces, had ended the moment the Slayer walked through Rome. Because everyone had seen what true demon hunting looked like. What happened when you stopped compromising, stopped negotiating, stopped pretending coexistence meant anything but delayed execution. Some called it a wake-up call. Others called it a warning shot. In the demon world, the surviving lords retreated to the deepest hells, the most fortified dimensions. They instituted new protocols. Avoid Earth, avoid detection, avoid anything that might summon the Slayer's attention again. Because he was still out there, still fighting, still walking through dimensions with the patient inevitability of entropy itself. And every demon that survived Rome told the same story. He didn't hate them, didn't rage or gloat, or even seem to notice them as individuals. He just ended them. And someday he would return. Maybe in a year. Maybe in a century. Maybe never. But the possibility changed everything. In a dimension the Slayer had already visited, a demon scholar discovered something in the ruins. A warning carved in a language that predated language itself. 3 words, repeated in every hell the Slayer had touched. It never stops, not a threat. A description. The war against demons wasn't fought for victory, or peace, or even survival. It was fought because fighting was all that remained when everything else died. And in Rome, in the crater where Mundus had fallen, Dante stood alone as the sun set over the scarred city. Lady joined him, silent for a long moment. "Think he'll come back?" she asked. "Yeah," Dante said. "Someday. When we get comfortable again. When we start making deals, taking shortcuts. Compromising with demons because it's easier than fighting them. And if we don't? If we actually learned something?" Dante smiled without humor. "Then maybe we'll survive long enough to see what comes after demons. Whatever the Slayer was running from when he landed here. There's something worse? There's always something worse. That's the point. The Slayer isn't the solution. He's the consequence. The thing that shows up when you've already lost. When the universe decides you need exterminating. We're just lucky he decided we were still worth the ammunition to not kill." They stood together, watching the sunset paint Rome in shades of blood and gold. A city that had died and been reborn more times than history recorded. And in the distance, so faint it might have been imagination, they heard the sound of armor hitting stone. Footsteps measured and endless. The Slayer, somewhere in the multiverse, continuing his war. Always continuing. Always. The city's lights flickered on, one by one, defiance against the dark. And in every shadow, every whispered prayer, every demon that remembered Rome, the lesson remained. Hope was possible. Survival was achievable. Coexistence might even work. But only if you were willing to fight for it. Forever. Without mercy. Without end. Just like him.